It's Wednesday number, who knows, but it's November 29th edition, 2023. Super excited to be here today and to share our guest with you. We just been having a little pre-chat. This is the first time I'm meeting her. I overheard some conversation the other day. My head was on a table at a pizza parlor, bathing in the sunshine as they were talking. And I was really excited to know that Debbie was coming on live today, just hearing Leah have conversation with her. And so in a few minutes, we'll bring Debbie live to you. But today, just a few little housekeeping things. 100 days of expansion. It's going on. And you know what? It's going on like lots of us do it. It has hiccups. And it has some like, oh yeah, we're in 100 days of expansion. And yesterday on Live and Unscripted, we also let you know that there's still room for registration. And if you haven't, it is for the low price of FREE. It's free. But if you need us to charge something in order for you to think that it has value and to get yourself registered, we're happy to do that. Just let us know. The registration link will be in the comments. Really, it's just a way for you to join us in the fun of staying engaged in the last part of the year when everything's coming in at you. There's all the extra, you got to do this and you got to do that. You got to talk to other people and you got to feel stressed because of this and be angry because of that. And you know what it's like while you're trying to be happy and end a year with lots of awesome sauce. So for ourselves, we created this 100 days of expansion as a way to end the year powerfully and focused on what it is we're creating right now, but also taking into 2024. 100 days of expansion actually goes into the middle of February. So, you know, those New Year's, what are they even called? Resolutions that most people make. And, you know, by a few days into January or at least 3 weeks, you're like, now what was that resolution I made? Yeah. That's what 100 Days of Expansion is for, to assist you in starting momentum right here, right now, and taking it right on into 2024, all the way into the middle of February, so that as you're going into it, you're already feeling empowered. You already know what you're going to do, and you've not had the excuse of, I'm going to wait till the new year. I'm going to wait till it's like saying, I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to start. Bull crap. Bull crap. You're not. So start right now. And
just tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, bull crap. And why am I telling you that? Because we're 29 days into it. And I have had moments of like, oh, I'm going to wait. Because I'm human too. And I have like moments of like, hesitation and fear. And do I really want to put myself out there that way? And at the same time, I will tell you this, because I've chosen to focus on what we're creating, amazing things have come into play, and pieces and parts of the dream have really been made more clear. So start now. Please start now. I'm almost going to get down on my knees and beg you, register so you have some support.
Jen, I feel like you're a little accelerated. You're excited. What is it we do to get us back into like coherence?
I do start these things a whole lot excited because there's so much coolness. We're also going to tell you about the river trip, but we'll do that here in a minute or at the end. So one way we love to start is to bring ourselves into the current moment right here, right now, where we can actually allow inspiration to be the guide, where we can think more clearly, where we can let our heart and our minds come into coherence. Sometimes we even slow down our talking, but we definitely slow down our breathing. So we're going to do a little breathing exercise, partly because it allows us to get into the space to be more present with you and you with us, but also as a way to model for you, like, this is a practice you can do every day or 5 times a day or 10 times a day if you need to. When you find yourself in places of just like consternation or crunchy brains or everything feeling like it's pressing in on you, you can just pause. Take a few long, deep breaths and move forward in a space of slower heart rate, slower breathing, slower mind, greater clarity, greater presence, greater decision-making capabilities. So today, let's do box breathing, which is you're going to breathe in. I always say a 4 or 5 count. Use a count that works best for you, but that's really going to allow the breath to come in and push all, like you're filling a balloon, all the way down into your hips, sit bones, as Brandy, our past guest, said to us, and feel your stomach expand, feel your ribs expand, feel your chest expand. So take a count that works for you. Then you're going to hold that air for the same count. Then you're going to exhale through your mouth for the same count. Do you see the box? And then you're going to hold the exhale for the same count. Today, as you're doing that, I'm going to invite you to breathe in what it is you're wanting to create in your 100 days of expansion as you end out this year. And what is you want to create? What is it that you want to feel? What is it that you want to bring out in your beingness? And as you exhale, let go of any of the mind shiz or the scuttle or the arguments or the crappy self-talk, the low energy vibe feelings. Let that stuff go as you're breathing out. So breathing in what you want to feel, what you want to experience more of your beingness, and breathing out any of the mind shiz. I'm inviting you to do it with either a downward gaze or closed eyes, whichever works best for you. We'll do the first one with you, and then we'll do 3 sets on our own. So taking that downward gaze or closed eyes, breathing in through your nose for, I say 4 to 5. Do what works best for you, breathing all the way down into your sit bones, holding that inhale and the thoughts that go with it, exhaling through your mouth, pushing out as much air as possible, holding that exhale. And now repeat for 3 cycles on your own. Awesome. Finishing up whatever cycle that you're in. When you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. Come back into presence with Leah and I. Leah, how was that today?
It was good. I always love feeling it. I think a lot of the exercise we did with Dewey and like bringing it all the way to my feet and then feeling the breath come back up through my feet. And I feel like I just feel settling. I'd love to know how Debbie experienced that.
Well, let's bring Debbie on so she can answer that question. You're going to get a countdown, 3, Debbie.
2, 1.
Welcome. Okay, tell us about breathing for you today.
It was great. It was just what I needed because it always helps me slow down, which is something that I know I need to work on every day. It doesn't come naturally.
Right? I hear you
funny,
on that.
Right? Like it's a breathing thing. Or you're saying the slowing down doesn't come naturally because like you get excited. Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you want to do like 10 different things at once. I know that's what it feels like for me.
It's a practice that I had to like the slowing down, like learning how to just pause and be with myself and be with my thoughts. That didn't come naturally for me. And I must say, I've gotten pretty good at it. I
did a 10K run once, and at the end of it, my brother-in-law was there, and he was like, I can't believe you just ran a 10K. I thought we might hear silence for a bit while you caught your breath, but no, that didn't happen. That was years ago. But that's the type of thing I mean, like, breathe.
Right? That's so cool. Okay, so we've brought Debbie on. Again, I only know her through eavesdropping on a conversation while sunbathing on a pizza parlor table. But also I've had the last 30 minutes to just converse, and I'm really excited. I'm going to let Leah actually lead more of this conversation because it just feels natural. It just feels like the natural thing to do today.
Just let it come out how it needs to come out.
Yeah.
But
Can I ask the first question though?
absolutely. But yeah, go for it.
Okay, so here at Live and Unscripted, it's literally what the title says it is. It's live and there's no script. I do ask one question at the beginning though, because I think it's fun. And I love where the conversation just takes off from there. And if you're new to the program, you'll just notice, like, I'll ask this question and notice what thoughts and questions come to your own mind as you're listening to the conversation between Debbie and Leah and I. And if you've got a question, put it in the comments. We'll see it so that we can answer it as well. We're going to come up with our own questions as we're inside of this live conversation, which is how conversations work, friends. It's kind of why we do this live and why we do it long script is so that it allows the natural order and presence of a conversation and energy to just really be here. So the first question, Debbie, are you ready?
I am.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
Okay, good. I like that a lot. It's okay. Whew. It's this. What were you like as a kid and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh. What was I like as a kid? I'd say some of it is still now. It's just in a different way. I was very loud. I loved to talk. What I wanted to be when I grew up, I honestly, nothing comes to my mind because I really just don't. I'll say a teacher. I always thought I wanted to be a teacher, but it wasn't because I wanted to be a teacher. It's because I didn't want to work during the summer.
I like it.
I love that.
I totally thought you were going to say, because this is what I would say. I never wanted to grow up. Like, it's always be a kid.
No, I couldn't wait to grow up and move out. I was excited about that. So
right. Okay, so share a little bit about that. Like, why? Because you're not the only one who feels that way, or has felt that way, or will ever feel that way.
But why I wanted to move out?
Yeah.
I was the youngest of, no, sorry, not the youngest. I was fourth out of 5, and then 6 when I was in grade 7. There was another one, and so
another one.
Well, my mom got remarried, so there is another brother, but there's a lot of bodies living in a house.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so, like, I never had my own room, and it's not the end of the world, but just so many things.
But when you're a kid,
right?
Like, you want your space.
Yeah.
And I was a complete neat freak. And my sister, who I shared a room with, you could draw a line down the middle of the room and know exactly what half was hers and what half was mine. So I say I'm a control freak. I've gotten better with things and letting go of a lot, but I like order. And I, back then, wanted control of making decisions and to do things how I wanted. And
how would you do with art, like watercolors?
Oh, I would draw a stick person for art, so to speak. I liked crafts, but I would say I'm not artistic when it came to drawing at all.
Well, like, now you're going to push Leah's buttons.
Well, because when I hear you talking, I heard a lot of that in Jen, and like, because I do a lot of watercolors, and she was wanting to experience that, but like, she calls it her perfectionist mind would get in the way and badger her, and like, it's not looking right, and why isn't it better, and to the point she didn't want to really do it. But you know, we do a
well, and that's not just with watercolor. That is something that like has been overarching in anything in my world. It's not just but watercolors is something I really wanted to do. So I loved this opportunity.
Yeah, and it's been really cool to see Jen's unwinding of the perfectionistic pieces, the wanting to control the process, and know that it's going to turn out a certain way, or turn out the way that you see in your head, and bringing out her inner 8-year-old and just unwinding some of that. So it's fascinating. So where do you think some of that wanting for control really came out for you as a kid?
Yeah. And like, what, like, were you always like that? Or was there something in your world as a little person that you're like, I'm going to draw some lines?
I wouldn't have known this several years ago now. I've known it for a while, but it wouldn't be because I needed the control. I needed to feel safe because I didn't
Yeah.
want to fail or have somebody make fun of me or say the wrong thing that I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And that's
Okay. Tell me more about that. Like, where, because I think lots of us have that experience. She's like, wait a minute, what kind of a podcast have I come on?
it's
Like,
true though.
like, like, are you, if you're willing to share more about like what that was, and for those listening, just know anything that comes out of our mouths that way in regards to the people in our lives, it's not a disrespect. It's a how we felt in those moments that caused shifts in us, or idiosyncrasies, or things that we've then gotten to work on in our growth and expansion experiences. So, if you're willing to, like, what were some of those things? Like, why did you feel not safe, or that you needed to have that kind of safety?
I wanted people to like me, which I think is a natural human thing.
Right.
So if somebody were to say, oh, like that doesn't look good, or why did you do that? My voice would say, oh, I'm wrong. And even though that they may not be thinking that, that's what I'm hearing. So it was just always easier to know, okay, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. And then this is the outcome. And then as I entered entrepreneur world, I
Wait, say that word again.
Oh, are you going to make fun of the Canadian way to say it?
No, I'm not. That's just such a big word, and I love how people say it. How do you say it?
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Yeah, that's about how I say it. It's just such a big word.
So when I got into the entrepreneur world, there's many, many things that I tried. I know the ones that I was successful with are the ones that truly aligned with me, right? However, when I look back, and I've asked people this, is it really, are you scared of doing the thing? Or are you worried of failing because of what others will judge you on? Because I believe if success was guaranteed, more people would do the thing because they don't have the fear of failing. And we need to fail in order to grow. But it took me many years to understand that.
But again, what is that failing? What is the failing?
Well, I wouldn't look at it now. I look at it as you got to pivot. But failing is when it doesn't go how the world says it should go, or maybe even that voice in your head. And a lot of people tie that back to a monetary success. And when I said success, it's because at that time, if I didn't make what I thought would, or what was portrayed from that business, if I didn't make that much money or any at all, then to me, that was unsuccessful. Whereas to me, the money is the byproduct. If you're putting the money first, then that's what I call a JOB. Because people that go to their jobs, whether they like them or not, they're there for the money. Mm-hmm. And you go, you do your thing, you come back. If you want to do something on your own, if your soul is aligned with it, it's going to feel natural. And the things that felt natural, or the things that I liked, whether it's a product or a service, those were the ones I succeeded in, and in turn made a profit.
Well, it's not, I love that you bring that up, because you and I met when I was venturing out into, I think it was with a MLN company, and they encouraged you to reach out to people, get to know people. And I think you were doing nails or something and sugaring at the time.
Wait, did you say sugaring?
Mm-hmm.
What is sugaring?
It's like waxing, but not as
okay.
My license code is Sugar Mama.
Sugar Mama. Of course it is. But I think, I think of my experience in that business. It wasn't making a whole bunch of money. I could do it, but I wasn't fully aligned with the product. But I love the sense of community. I love the challenges to reach out to people. That's how I met my best friend, Esther, in Canada. Because they encouraged you to get out there and talk to people, which I had gotten really unaccustomed to, living out in the country, having little kids. I had lost a lot of confidence, and I had a lot of anxiety, and that business wasn't a monetary success, but it was definitely an emotional and spiritual growth, personal growth success, because it's got me to meet other people. And I wouldn't have met you if I hadn't gone through that journey, and just how that's evolved since.
Absolutely.
So
and do you know what is so interesting? Because I've tried many different MLMs or direct sales, and I've had success in some of them. But what I realized, and I would say this to anybody, especially if they're wanting to start a business or grow their business, are you invested in the business because of the success you're seeing in someone else? And that's what excites you? Because oftentimes it is. You have to love a product and know a product in order to authentically sell it. And when I say authentically, because I wouldn't be able to offer or sell something if I didn't like it. Like, I'm not going to go shave my legs and promote getting sugared. That, like, to me, authenticity, it's my number one value. You have to be real. So are you aligned with what it is, the service, the product, the thing, or the success somebody else is having, and you just don't know that yet? And when I said that to someone,
yeah, but that's what they sell you on, right? Like, because I wasn't even a person that wore makeup. Spoiler alert, that was a makeup company. And I've never liked makeup because it makes my face itchy. And they were promoting all natural products and all this. And it still made my eyes burn. But I was so excited at the prospects of having my own business and meeting people and having a team. And I was excited about the community and who I would become in growing that way and taking that leap and investing in all that stuff. And I appreciate the experience, but totally what you said, like I wasn't fully aligned with the product, so I couldn't share it in those ways.
Yeah. And that's so key, because I used to think that when I started these different businesses, since 2009, I've been an entrepreneur, and if I wasn't having success or started something, those are what I would call failures, or worried that people are going to be like, oh, what's she doing now? Meanwhile, I had many people reach out saying, oh, like this and that, and give me positive compliments. But I'm hearing that voice in my head saying, oh, I failed another one, or, oh, I wasted that money because it didn't work. Well, that's just because I was attached to the result of making money, not what the product is.
Yeah. I think a powerful part of that journey too is being around other people who are in a growth mindset and wanting to do life differently and not just settle into a job, and really pushing themselves and being around people who are striving for different things that way was powerful for me, because it made it okay to get into the personal development space, because I had always had this belief of it's cringy, or there's something wrong, or like you don't have it all figured out, which we don't, which is so dumb to think that.
Wait, we don't have it all figured out?
No.
Well, maybe you do, then.
Not even close. This is what I love about that piece. So is you're like, oh, I got that figured out. And then it's like, here you go. Here's in a whole nother bag full.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But every single thing that I tried, I took something from it, whether it was small, maybe at the time I didn't see it, or it led me to my next thing. Like, and that's where there's John Maxwell book, Failing Forward. And
I love that book.
Right? It's like, why does the word failing have to be so bad? It's not bad.
Right?
The meaning you give it. But if you've learned, you haven't failed.
Exactly.
Right. And here's what I noticed in my adventuring, and maybe even just in being human, but like, think about, we all fall, like actually physically fall down. Like when I'm running trails, I have biffed it, like fall down hard. People could call that a failure. But one thing I noticed is, like, every time I fall, which direction do we usually fall?
Forward.
We almost always fall in a forward direction. So it's like, still made progress. I had to, like, a few times be like, unring my bell, but I'm like, I made progress. It's 5 feet. So I love I love that right there. And that book was a game changer for me when I read it.
Failing forward, it's called.
Just redefining, John C. Maxwell, redefining what that is versus what we've been told it is, or that's what I always say to people. What are your metrics? What is failure, and who's giving you the metrics? Where are they coming from?
To me, failing is when you give up and you don't do anything.
Yeah,
that's right.
You're going to stay right exactly where you are. It doesn't mean it can't change to a different way to do things. Like I was not made to work for somebody else. I was not made to work 9 to 5 job. And I didn't know where my path would lead when I left my last job in 2009. And I thought that my life was set when I got that in 2007 because, the money was great until 3 weeks in. And I was like, I am fucking miserable. And Sunday afternoons, I would turn into a raging bitch knowing I had to go back there. Yeah. And so I left and I made a plan. I had no clue where it would go after the first adventure.
Okay. So bringing what you just said there, bringing it back to what we were talking about before, which is control, drawing the line. I knew what side was mine, what side was my sister's. How did, because that's not just something we just are like, snap, I'm not a control freak anymore. I don't have to have it my way, or what, however we put it. Like, how has that informed what you just said? Like, I wanted the freedom. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know. Those two things really bump up against each other. How do you, or how have you, or do you currently like move through? I still may have some control issues, or I like control, whatever we're going to call it, versus, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to allow life to unravel and unfold in a way that I don't know. I don't have the answers. We're experiencing that as well. I just want to hear like what that is for you, because someone who's listening to us is going to be like, oh, I got to know this because I'm right there.
Well, there's a couple things to it. And so I thought probably I would have stayed doing daycare a lot longer than I did. I also had no clue about direct sales businesses and the potential that's out there. I just saw other people's life. So I didn't really think that I would do something different, but it was when I had my cancer journey and I had no choice but to let go of control over my own body, essentially. So, and I've spoken about this before, because someone that's a control freak, and now you're told like there's 4 pages of side effects. You could go deaf and all the other things. So I had to trust the doctor, and if I wanted to survive, then I had to let go of the control. And that it's obviously, and I don't want that to happen for me to go through that big thing. I said so much more was happening within me that I wasn't even aware of at that time. And it was letting go of control in other areas of my life. Mm-hmm. And so now I enjoy maybe not knowing. It's still down there. I think we're always going to wonder, like we've got some.
We're human.
Yes. And we've got some big changes happening that I'm not going to go into detail about, but my head goes there and I just have to take myself back. And I've always said everything happens for a reason. And I said that back when I left that job, but it has such a deeper and more profound meaning now as I have gone through different things, because I've actually experienced it.
So talk about, like, if you can, in words, like what is that deeper meaning? Like, because we can talk about it and people hear this kind of stuff all the time. Like, yeah, whatever, deeper meaning, you had an experience, whatever. But
what was that, like an aha moment that really shifted things for you? Like, or like a story that comes to mind where we're realizing you needed to have a shift, or just recognizing that you were having a shift in how you were thinking and how you could move forward in your growth that way.
I wouldn't say a story comes to mind. I want to say through journaling, because I wasn't aware of it at the time when I was going through it. And so it was just through journaling, and there was always a stress of if I didn't know or this and that, and like stress is heavy. So I would say like it's the inner work. When I say deep, it's whether everyone's different, right? Journaling, inner work, meditation, yoga. And those are the things that when I reflect and push the outside noise and opinions and judgments and all the shit, that's what I call my deep work. And so as much as it's not one story, I feel it's a culmination of things. As I journal, certain things come to, because I never know what I'm going to say when I start. And it's just crazy. And then some of them have turned into speeches, but that's just, sometimes that's when I have the realizations, but it's often through writing.
I love that.
I love that.
Writing is just such a great way to see what's in your head and shrink it down into something that feels more manageable and consumable, and be like, oh wait, I don't actually believe that.
I love that you just said that, because when I came to journaling, probably, I don't know, I really started journaling in earnest 14 years ago, and I did it for many years. And then I have fallen away from that, and am somewhat finding myself back to it. But I remember just those probably moments like you had, just like, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much, because, and I used to tell people, I don't know what I think till I can see what I've said. Like all of it it's the movement from here to the end of your hand and your pen, and you get to get sight into it, and you hear your thoughts instead of just watching. I love that piece. So I love that you brought that out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you follow specific journaling, or did you just sit down and write?
Right. Sometimes if a question has come to me, I'll answer it. I've also got some journals that I might just, if I like a question from it, or open it up and answer it that way. Or when I'm walking or running, but has been a while since I've been jogging, but so many ideas come to me. So sometimes when I'm out walking, I will even just talk, whether it's a voice note or just talk to text.
Yeah.
And I know there's the power of pen to the paper, but I've said with many people, it's better than doing nothing if you're still
absolutely,
and you're in a flow state.
So. Well, and that's part of what we love about what we do is, the physical piece. Our physical bodies are the slowest way to learn things, but when we're out and we're moving them, and the ideas, like you just said, come, and you don't have your pen and paper, that's a beautiful way to again get it out there, because they are going to move through you, and all those pieces are now working together for your good. And I love the reminder of like, oh yeah, we have these powerful things in our hands, like make a video, or oh my gosh, you could do a live video.
You're so fun.
And I mean, the pen to paper is powerful, but what you're doing too, you're capturing in the moment. Sometimes I find like, oh, I want to get a pen and paper because ideas are coming. But by the time I actually get to the pen and paper, it's like gone.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful that you're capturing that flow as it's coming. And I mean, whatever way it's coming out and you can catch it, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And also on the other side, where it could be something that you just need to get off your chest because it's weighing you down, and the emotions are just bogging you down. So you just get it out, whether you end up sharing it with the person, whatever, it oftentimes is just enough to be like,
right. It's that I call it installing that pressure valve. Just lets it out before there's, a huge explosion like a volcano and tons of collateral damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this thought keeps coming to mind, Debbie. You talk a lot about other people's opinions and how that's played out in your life. I know this because we've done Toastmasters together, and you've shared some of those stories in your speeches, and just how that affected you, and maybe someone out there could benefit from, who's really stuck on what other people think, or
rules, other people's rules.
Yeah. What has that journey been like for you, and how did you look at it then versus how do you look at it now?
The control piece.
That's very interesting, because if somebody told me I was wrong, and like it could upset me, and if it was like one of my feelings, like, and it's someone that I care about, because there's different levels, let's be real. Like if it's a stranger from the internet, like what the fuck, like I care. If it's someone that is meaningful to me, or part of my family, then it's a lot harder. And
doesn't make it true.
No,
but it is more challenging because they are close.
But I would hold on to it like several years ago. It actually was the pandemic that let me, because it doesn't matter if it was about the bullshit going on in the world and your views on what you were for or what you were against. This exact same thing, no matter what it is. And I was able to say, like, okay, if I want to do something or not do something based on what whoever says is right, and someone wants to judge me on that, like they don't know what I'm feeling. So why am I going to give more power to their opinion than my own feelings, knowing what is right for me? Mm-hmm. And that it was a hard few months, I think, but then it spilt out so beautifully everywhere else, because it was like that saying, other people's opinions are none of your business. It was like a brick wall I walked in. It was like, it's so true though.
Right.
So that's how I let go. It's just, why do I want to give more power to somebody for telling me I'm wrong when they don't know how I feel?
Or your experience.
So how did you, or how do you currently move through that and remind yourself of that? Because it's easy to say other people's opinions are none of our business, but to actually be able to own that do you need a pen? Yeah. There's one right here. Actually be able to own that for ourselves and to have an understanding of what that means for ourselves is a completely different thing than just saying. So how do you move through that and really genuinely, honestly own that for yourself while still caring for other people?
Therapy has
and their opinions.
What? I missed that.
I said for other people and their opinions.
Yeah. Therapy was a huge tool and has been since for the last 4 years. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that helped me, along with then asking the questions, connecting to the emotion. Why? Asking myself why and trying to connect emotionally. Many, many different questions as to, does that matter to me? Is that actually true to me? But it's really the emotional connection. And that ties back, that emotional connection was how I was in businesses too. If I was actually emotionally connected, then I would have had the success I would have said. Whereas if it was just about the money, it's still the emotional connection piece.
Out of curiosity, that emotional connection, how much of that do you feel like tied back to being a kid?
Oh, everything. Everything. I have said.
Tell us about that.
I don't understand why they don't teach this in school to kids, to feel your feelings. When you're sad, you think it's bad. No, you have to feel sadness. I say you don't have to sit in the shit. You have to feel it, and you have to process it, whatever that looks like for you. Crying is usually a way for me. Crying isn't bad. It's what releases.
Crying's healing.
But not as a child, I wouldn't have thought that. And not because someone told me it was wrong, but you just didn't ever want to cry in front of people. So.
But don't you feel like somewhere, but why? Why? Somewhere that had to have been implied or said or overheard or an adult said, somebody said that and you're like, oh yeah, I can't. Like somewhere that was implied.
Or people feel bad if you said something to me right now and I started crying, you might feel bad because maybe you wouldn't, but somebody would make me think they've made me cry. Well, nobody can make me feel a certain way. You could tell me I'm a bitch right now and I could laugh or I could cry because I get to give meaning to what that is. If I know I'm not.
That right there.
Yeah.
Helping people understand that it's the meaning we give to things. But then looking back, like, why and where has that meaning come from that we've attached to those things, and that it's not in the current. Leah and I've been having this discussion a lot lately, like the there was some kind of disagreement. So I'm like, this is not about what's going on right now. Like, where is this coming from in our pasts that we've attached something to it that, right, it feels like it's about right now, but it's not.
And it's so freeing when you can connect it. And that's where therapy has helped in all of my relationships, romantically or not, because I can be like, oh, he said this, and that reminds me of that. And if I don't know what is triggering that yucky emotion in me, I try and unpack that. And if I still can't figure it out, then I would probably bring it up in a therapy session if it's a reoccurring one. Because a lot of times, all these different things that I used to think were different things all boil down to the same thing. And it's just not always easy to see it in yourself, but I can see it easier in other people, as that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Well, and it brings me back to safety. We want to control because safety. And I've realized in my own journey, a lot of the things that I do, whether it's like being hyper busy or, you know, going for achievement or like just trying to be all the things for all the people, that's all a way to protect myself and stay safe, because that's where I put my value. And that's where I think people will still want to be with me, or, you know, it's
what we're taught.
Yeah, of course. So that feels safe. So even though it's hurting us, we still do these things as a form of safety. Like when you said the boiling down, I'm like, safety is such a huge thing. And that we don't talk about in schools. We don't talk about as children growing up.
No. And when I look back, when I first started therapy, I would get asked certain questions like, how does that make you feel? And I wouldn't even put it into words, because I'd be like, I don't fucking know. How am I supposed to know?
What do you mean feel?
Yeah, what feeling? What is that?
Right?
It's like our feelings are always there, but if you just ignore them, then you're just pushing them down. And obviously bigger things are just going to get suppressed, and who knows how they're going to.
Just how much energy does that take too?
Oh man. Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
This is when I learned this piece about, you know, some of us think, oh, I'm going to tone down one emotion or one feeling. I'm going to suppress that one. I was so surprised when I learned, like, that's not how it works. Like, you do one, it's like those mixing boards for musicians. You know, they have the sliders, but you don't slide like a musician. They all slide. They all come down.
Start
and
muting all parts of your life.
What we were talking about this yesterday about when we don't have outlets like our creativity or things that help us feel safe, or movement or whatever, traveling, that all of that stuff, that's the volcano. I call it the volcano, just builds up and builds up until, you know, it can't hold the pressure anymore. And that's like,
and it
explosion.
Ways. Yeah.
And then it manifests in ways like in the particular song. Who are we listening to?
Amanda Palmer.
And just the way it was expressive, like when we don't have the safety of expressing who we are and owning our own thoughts and opinions and being able to speak them. And it's not about being like, in your face, this is my thought, my opinion. Like, you have to listen. It's like, this is how I feel. Then
we have to tell them that it's wrong. If they think it's wrong, that's where you can agree to disagree. You know, right? It's so in our face. Like, think about politics. If somebody's on the left, they're right for them. And if somebody's on the right, they're right for them. I don't need to make myself wrong or them wrong to make myself right. If you're going to tell me that I'm wrong because of what I believe, that's fine. I would end that conversation because it's not going to go anywhere. But I also think it's important, no matter what the subject is about, that people can talk about those opinions. You might learn a new perspective. You might just agree to disagree. But why shy away from it? It's all in how you say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and again, your willingness to feel something different, to feel into what the other person is saying. And does that feel like it's something that could sit well with me? Is that no, it's not. Or like, maybe so.
But then you don't have the right. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
It's like you don't have the right. People say it, and I know I've done it, especially well before therapy. If somebody tells me how they're feeling, and it's like, oh no, they don't really. Someone doesn't like me. Oh, of course they like you. I'm telling them that how they feel is wrong, and I'm like, that's so shitty.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. But you wouldn't, I didn't recognize that for a long, long time.
It's funny. We were talking with a mother and daughter, and the daughter was sharing like all this stuff about like how she felt she failed in this relation, or not failed, but didn't show up the way she wanted to in this relationship, or things that didn't work. And
the mom being well-intentioned
and loving and wanting to assist her daughter. She's like, oh no, you're great. You're this and that.
You're just,
and the daughter's
perfect.
Like, yeah. And the daughter's like, let me express my humanness. I am not perfect. Right. Like we need that space to experience all the things. And just when you said that, it reminded me of that. Like I get to feel all the things, even if they're not like the good feelings. Like it's not about making you feel,
it's about being human.
Yeah. Just
which is all of it.
Full spectrum.
You're not given a manual. We're not given a manual on how to live. And so we do the best with what we have, where we're at. And
wait, what have I been reading then? I thought I had a manual.
Okay, I have to bring this up, Debbie, because I have such an appreciation. You started in Toastmasters about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds right.
About that, yeah. And I remember you presenting your first speech, and there was some controversy over over using.
I love that she's like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I just something you said before we got on here really rang true to me, as to that you can still show up the way that you want to, but ask for what you need, even within an organized professional setting, and still make it your own. Will you talk to that experience a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I remember speaking to you about this after I showed you the contents of it to ask your opinion, and you came back and said, oh, it's Toastmasters is for professionals, and like, do you think maybe you could use, say, the F word?
Oh,
no, that was the feedback I got back from the club, because I had asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's like, do you think maybe you could use the F word instead of saying fuck? And I was like, no, absolutely not, because it would take away from my speech. So if I'm not allowed to say it, then that Toastmasters is not my space, and I'll take what I can from the back end, and I won't do speeches, because the opening of it was talking about the word fuck and how it's my favorite word. And when Leah said that, I was like, who decides that the word fuck is unprofessional? And Leah went, ooh. I'm like, it's true. I love when I hear people in the eyes, like Tony Robbins comes to my mind when I heard him talk, and he says fuck, nobody bats an eye. How we use our words is what makes all the difference. So if I'm
are you saying that the F word can be used with intention and actually have meaning and emotion, like actual physical emotion behind it, and not just be tossed out as a word 5 times in a sentence? That, like, am I hearing you say like it can actually be used intelligently?
Yeah.
Or with
to me, it's got strength and power. I'm like, that is fucking amazing. Like, it's the way you say it. So if I say to you, nobody's ever going to love you, or let's fucking go, stop taking so long. Like, is because the word fuck is in one sentence, it means that sentence is bad or hurtful, versus the words that you could project to somebody as simple as no one will ever love you. To me, that's a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that, because it totally just brought a memory back of talking with someone who like, how do I say this? For people who like to show up as nice, or as what some people would deem as meek, what I also think they're misusing or misunderstanding what meekness is. And I used to say to people, and this is before, like, I didn't say the F word for most of my life because of the way that I grew up. And until I learned the value of that word and the intense emotion that it can carry and pull out of you, like sometimes it is just the word. And I remember saying to this person in like how they were addressing other people, and I've said it since, I'm like, you can call somebody a fucker or you can call them a fucker.
Tone.
Yeah.
But I just don't, it just is so funny to me in how it's labeled as such a bad word. It's like, it's the meaning you give it. If you want to give everything is like that. It's like the sentence that you say to me could have no swear words in it, but they could hurt me for whatever reason.
And I love the example that you used of like, oh,
no one's gonna love
no
you.
one's gonna. All I could think of then was like, you're never gonna amount to anything.
Yeah, like that's a harsh sentence. And
there's no swear words in it.
There's no swear words in it, but that sticks with people for their lifetimes.
Mm-hmm. And then there's, okay, if someone says, fuck you, versus, oh, that fucking sucks. That's also very different. But it's like, you could say anything instead of fuck, like get lost. Fuck you, get lost. So get lost would be perceived as okay versus fuck you. They're both kind of saying, get away from me.
Yeah.
But they're both hurtful. They mean the same thing. It's like, I remember when one of my kids were younger and they would do that. And I'm like, if you're doing that to replace that, it means the same thing.
Yeah.
So it don't matter what finger it is.
Yeah. But I love what you were sharing with us as far as like moving forward in how evaluations are done. Like part of Toastmasters is you present and then everyone gets like an evaluation form to tell you, your strengths, things you can work on and things like that. But I love the part of how you want to approach that moving forward and how it just wasn't serving you. Like it wasn't giving you the value you went to Toastmasters for in the first place. So what was,
first of all, what was that, what was the comment of like, again, this was me eavesdropping on the conversation of like, someone referring to the language or the word, not even the language, the contents, one word versus the content of what you were saying. And again, not leaving a name. Like that is so, if you're going to comment like that to someone.
That's the way Toastmasters is though. It doesn't have a spot for a name. So someone did suggest that. And so it's not, if you're going to correct somebody, then to me, you should give an alternative to say something. And so everybody joins Toastmasters for different reasons. And mine was simply to slow down and let go, I think, of some of worrying about what I say and how I say it. Leah inspired me just because I saw her growth in it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. So that's why I joined a club out of town, because that's where she went. And so if I'm there for one reason and somebody's there because they are going to have meetings at their job, we're going to have very different objectives.
Yeah.
So the forms and the objectives are supposed to be given before the person says their speech. But I'll just say from my personal experience, the few that I've had, sometimes there is words or circlings of saying things that maybe they didn't like. Like one was, it was aggressive, but nothing to correct it. So if you're going to criticize, give the correction of what your suggestion is, or to me, don't say anything. Now, once again, I get to give the meaning that I give to that. I don't believe for a second that there was anything that was aggressive, but depending on who you're comparing it, because that's essentially what would have been happening is comparison to what though? So I would rather be evaluated on what I'm aiming to achieve, whether it's memorization, whether it's slowing down, body language, tones, not the contents. Because not everybody is going to enjoy, like I've heard lots of different speeches, and it's not that any of them are maybe bad per se, but if you don't connect with the content, you may not enjoy it as much. That doesn't mean the person did not perform it top notch.
Yeah.
So am I hearing, go ahead.
No, you're looking for more of a performance and how you're presenting versus being looked at as what words or word choices you're using at this point.
Absolutely. And I have heard mixed things. I don't actually know what the Toastmaster way is. I have heard mixed things that apparently in competitions, which I have no desire to do that because I'm not competing against anybody. I'm just trying to improve for my own self.
Yeah.
But why 50% apparently is content? I don't know if you have any more insight to that, but I'm like, that is crazy to me because how are you judging it? So if you have 5 people judging you and everybody has a different opinion of that subject, then they're going to rank you really low. Whereas if you had 5 people that had the same opinion, then you might get ranked really high. And I just don't agree with that aspect.
I think as far as content is how you organize your speech and how you bring in different elements and are you illustrating your points. I don't think it's
matters of opinion.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very subjective. It's part of why I don't really do a lot of Toastmaster stuff anymore. It was really great for building confidence and being intentional about writing a speech and showing up and putting myself out there. But I feel like as far as style and how I want to share stories has really shifted from the professional way that Toastmasters wants to teach. So not this is no diss to Toastmasters. I wouldn't be where I am
can we put a
without it.
caveat here? We
Yeah.
are not dissing Toastmasters.
Not at all.
And it sounds like you can go and get whatever experience you're looking for or learning that you're needing inside of these organizations, but that also you may go to them and recognize it's not what your soul or what your what actually fits with who you are as a person and what you're looking for. So
and that also is going to vary from club to club because it's going to be so different. And I've only ever been to one other one, but I believe that the one I go to is very fun. Like to me, it's very, it's like, I don't know. I can't think of the word, but it's just not so, I don't think it's rigid because I do say the words that I need to say and I've not been kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but going back to Leah's question before, like moving forward with how the comments in regards to, as you're practicing your speeches, the comment cards, I've not been to a Toastmaster, so I'm learning through you guys.
How is it you want to
I heard you say before we got on that you were going to try something new and say, this is actually what I'm looking for thoughts on. Like you said, I would like to know if you felt like I memorized well. So what I'm hearing you say is you're asking for what you want or what you need, not just
absolutely
free reign on give me your comments.
Yeah, because they have I don't know it very well, but they have these pathways and they give the objectives of what that speech is. However, I can say to the person who's evaluating me, these are the objectives that I'm looking for. Can you say this so that I can get feedback on what I want versus maybe what is told that I need, because that may not be important to me.
Okay, so how does one take this information outside of Toastmasters and use it in everyday life? Because we're talking to most people who are not going to be inside of a Toastmasters, but this is stuff that can happen as a coach, because I know you do some coaching. How do you take this experience and apply it to the greater experience of just human living?
Communication. I think that we need to ask. If you don't ask questions, the answer will always be no. So I am not one to shy away from asking things, because at the end of the day, if I ask somebody something and maybe they think that I've overstepped my boundaries or they don't want to answer, then they can say that. I'm not I'll have to deal with that depending on the situation, right? So I'm just one of, if you want something or you want to do something or you want to change and it involves somebody maybe not other than just yourself, you have to ask. And if you can't, then ask yourself, why? Why can't you ask? You can only make that change. Nobody can do any of the hard work for you. And some people get really confused with that when it comes to certain things, because they get attracted to the energy of somebody else. And they're like, oh, they can help me. They definitely can help you, but helping and doing is two very different things.
Right. You still have to take the actions yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They can assist you with content. They can assist you with tools. They can even assist you with an energy boost, but you still got to do the work.
But you have to be able to talk. And this is where I love, the way technology's evolved. But this texting and certain things should not be typed. And it would be at least better if you can do voice notes depending on what it is. But to me, hard conversations should be said, whether it's ear to ear, ideally face to face, but you still need to be able to talk to people. And obviously every generation is more and more behind a computer screen. And as much as there's value in that, there's also a lot of unlearning that has to be done when you get to a certain age, depending on what you are going to do for a living.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the safety thing comes back into all of that, into the communication and
because some people don't want to ask the thing or say the thing, and it's like then the answer is always no. But once again, it can go back to how you say it or your tone. Like I asked Leah something the last time we talked. If I didn't ask her, I would have never known. So I asked, and
I'm glad you asked.
But that's why, and I think the younger you are, like in high school, like younger years, I wouldn't have been able to ask certain things because it would have went back to, well, what if they tell somebody? And now it's like, what if they screenshot it to somebody, or what if they, it's a whole different dynamic. I'm so glad that shit wasn't around when I was in high school. There's enough to deal with.
Right? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh my gosh.
There's so much we could just.
I'm like, I feel like we
need
to keep going, but we're at our hour mark, and we actually have other places we have to be.
Sleeping on a pizza table.
That was so nice. The sun, the big glass windows, full belly.
I just want the American pizza, damn it.
Come play. We will take you there.
Okay.
Like that's open door invitation. Whenever, just let us know.
I love some good American food, y'all.
Right? Y'all come back now. So Debbie is what is it? Destinations Debbie.
By Deb.
You can find her on TikTok. You can also find her on Instagram, although she said that's not her favorite place. Mine either, just because I don't think about it.
Do you want to share what's next for you?
I was going to say, Destinations Debbie, tell us what's coming up. What can we look forward to, but what can our viewers look forward to? Because I think we've given them enough to know that you got good wisdom and some tools and some life under your belt that could be valuable for their own learning and lived experience.
Well, I have several things, but one problem I have is I do too many things at the same time. So I just had to hone things in, and I will be launching my own podcast, Destinations by Deb, by the end of the year. My birthday was on Sunday, and I told myself that's what I wanted. Thank you. That's what I wanted to give myself for my birthday, and I probably just.
So what date?
Oh, I don't have. I wanted it to be by my birthday, so I don't have a date per se.
I'm asking. How can we hold you accountable? What date?
How about we'll say December 14th?
Okay, it's a Thursday. I love Thursday.
My husband and my daughter's birthday.
Oh, sweet!
What an amazing thing! What a cool way to celebrate.
Okay, I'm writing it down, Debbie.
Oh,
so on December 14th. You guys can expect the first edition of Destinations
by
Deb official podcast. Dun, dun, dun. Wow, that's exciting.
My heart's pounding.
Good. That's awesome. I love it.
Good. That's excitement more than it is fear, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. It's one and the same, right? Excitement and fear.
They're the same chemicals.
Oh wait,
it's what you put into it.
Yeah, what's the meaning we give it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, how exciting! What else do you have coming up?
I've got some big things, but that will be revealed.
They're not there yet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. I can't wait. But the thought of the podcast, and will you you shared with us, but will you give just the premise of what the podcast is? Because I thought it was fabulous. It's something I full on believe in, and it's part of why I do what I do, and why I think I'm drawn. While I'm drawn to the people who I bring onto my podcast.
No, absolutely. And so Destinations by Deb is going to be about the many perspectives of me from my lived experiences and how the hardest thing of my life turned out to be the best thing of my life as to where it's brought me now and the way I live so differently as to what actually matters, whether it's traveling, self-development, therapy, all the things.
I love it. I love it. And where will people be able to find said podcast coming out December 14th?
Spotify.
2023. Spotify, okay.
And I'm guessing, this is where I don't know because I'm not an Apple person, but I'm pretty sure it can be interchangeable to Apple. I'm hoping so. I might have to figure that one out, but I've already got it set up for Spotify.
That's awesome. That's
We'll-
awesome.
We'll talk after.
I'm like, yeah, let's have a chat. So exciting. What makes you nervous about it? Like just something that makes you nervous about it.
I think it'll go right back to the theme of what we were talking about is safety, because you're being vulnerable and somebody might say, oh, I don't agree. But then in my head, I know like, it doesn't really matter if they don't agree because I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. You just don't agree.
It's your lived your lived experience.
Isn't it funny we go to that, how people will see what's wrong with it instead of seeing how it's going to like enrich their lives and help shift perspectives and add value to their everyday and, you know, maybe even save a life.
I've been told by a few people, like, you should do a YouTube channel. Like in the last year, several people or a podcast. And I was like, I know I've wanted to do it for a lot longer than that, but it was just that voice. So
yeah. Okay. So like on the flip side of that, what makes you really excited about this now that other than you have a date now?
Because I can share what I believe is wisdom for whoever needs to hear it with a lot more people than just me having one-on-one conversations, because that takes up a lot of time. And sometimes my mouth gets the better part of me. And then all of a sudden half a day can be gone. So it's like, it's controlled and it can be to whoever wants it and at any time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling of like I told someone I was going to put a podcast out by this date. I did what you did. I recorded it several times and I'm like, oh, send.
Right.
And that's, I know what I'm going to have to do because I've recorded the first one many times and I've spoken about that in every fucking one.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like that is okay because that's what's real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
what's real.
What are some parting words? What's something that you want to leave our audience? What's something you want to leave?
Three wisdoms to live by.
I always say, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep being you.
I love it. Keep exploring and keep being you.
Yeah, we need to authenticity. Dream, explore, and be yourself.
I love it. So fitting.
Those are powerful words to end on, my friend. Oh my gosh. Keep dreaming, keep exploring, keep being you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah,
Oh
thank you.
This has been fun. I feel like we could probably do several of these. So don't be surprised if you get another invitation. Come do it live, and we'll have pizza.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, I'll have to Potato Land.
Come to Potato Land, and we'll show you some other cool things besides potatoes and pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
All right. With that, we really have to head out because now we might just miss lunch. This has been so much fun. Remember, you can find Debbie on TikTok and on Instagram at what?
Destinations by Deb.
Destinations by
It's
Deb.
in the comments.
The Destinations by Deb podcast coming out December 14th on Spotify.
Yeah.
Let us know that you've listened to it so we can share that on with her and what you got out of it, because you sharing builds the confidence for us who are sticking ourselves out there so that we can give it back to you when you're ready to put yourself out there as well. So this is your invitation to put yourself out there, to listen, send the comment, and then let us share some lovin's back.
Yes.
We're going to forego the river trip. You can go to righteousrebels.com.
To learn more about the river trip.
The river trip. You want to be there August 14th through the 20th. You want to have an incredible learning experience in nature of really dreaming, exploring, and being you, get yourself on the boat. It's only $500 to hold your spot. And beyond that, just thank you for being with us. Thank you for what you add to our lived experience and for allowing us the space to share our own so that we can live and grow together.
Yeah. So with that,
be bold,
be brave,
be a rebel.
There you go.
We'll see you soon.
See ya.